This is Raising Kings, a space where single mothers raising young Black men come to heal, grow, and lead with power. We're not just raising boys, we're raising kings. Hosted by Jennifer Tolliver, a mother, mentor, and warrior in the fight for generational change. Let's get to work.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Raising Kings podcast. And if you're a single mother raising your son and navigating custody, co-parenting, or court, today's episode is for you. Because here's the hard truth, you guys, the family court system, it wasn't necessarily built for us. And too often, it can become a weapon, especially in the hands of abusive, vindictive fathers or just court personnel who don't understand. And sometimes they can use this to punish the women, who dare to lead them. But we're here today to let you know that you are not powerless. You just need someone to show you how to fight smart. So today, I'm joined with Tracey Bee, the family court strategist, pro se coach, and former family law attorney with over 20 years of experience. Her mission: to help women, especially those navigating court alone, build airtight cases, cut through the noise, and reclaim their voice in a system that often silences them. Tracey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Yes, we're honored to have you. And your work is so needed. And so can we start by giving our listeners a little bit of your background? How did you go from practicing law to becoming a strategist for pro se women who are walking into court without a lawyer?
Oh boy. How long is this show? No. Well, I actually practiced in New York City for several years, and I did criminal, I did juvenile delinquency, I did abuse neglect cases, and then I wound up doing divorce and custody cases. And a lot of times when I was there, a lot of the people that were coming to me were people that looked like us, that were Black and brown women, especially. I mean, I wasn't really targeting any particular population, but that's who came to me most. And a lot of them didn't have the resources to pay me. So it's always been in my plan to create something that's going to actually give them the opportunity to, speak their voice and to pursue their interests in court, even though they don't have the resources to hire an attorney to do that. So that's been in the making for the past 15 years. It wasn't until 5 years ago that I actually made it a thing, though. It's always been a mission of mine to help the underdog. And so that's how I actually came to doing what I'm doing now.
That is so awesome. And I'm so glad you did it. And whatever you had to go through to get here to help us is awesome. It's going to help us too. But you said that people don't lose in family court because they're wrong. They lose because they're unprepared.
That's it. That is exactly it. A lot of people think family court is this, and this. It's not. It's this, and this. It's so many things that we don't realize it is. Number one, it's not set up to protect anybody's kids. Number one, let's get that out in the open. They are not designed. That's what they say, the best interest of the child, blah, blah, blah. That's not really what they're designed for. They're designed to, to basically put Band-Aids on situations and to pretty much placate the legislatures, the public, whomever. But the family court has its own agenda, which has little to do with the safety of our kids. That's number one. Number two, a lot of people don't understand that you can know the law like the back of your hand. It doesn't matter. Not in family court. Family court is the one court where the law matters this much and strategy matters this much. So a lot of people will say, well, I know the law and it says this. Well, yeah, and that's good. You should know it. But to go in thinking that the judge is going to listen to your version of the law, is going to apply your version of the law, or even apply their own version of the law, no, that's not how it works. They're going to do what's best for the judge and for the court and everybody else in the courtroom involved, except the parties that's standing before it. And number three, being ready and being prepared are two different things. A lot of people go to court ready. I'm ready to fight, but they're not prepared. You didn't prepare. You don't know who your judge is. You don't know how your judge rules. You don't know who the other party's attorney is. You don't even know the dynamics of the courtroom. You know nothing. All you know is your facts. That's not it. That's a fraction of your case. You need to know all of those things, because all of those things are going to have an impact on how the judge finally rules in your case. So yeah, You have to be prepared, not just ready, not just know the law. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared strategically.
Absolutely. Excellent advice. So a lot, well, honestly, a lot of our listeners are Black single mothers dealing with high conflict exes. So what do they need to know about how the system can be weaponized against them even when they've done nothing wrong?
So I work with a lot of women of color now still, not as much as I used to, but what I realized, and I hate to generalize, but I'm not generalized based on some hypothetical or
Right.
theoretical. I'm generalizing based on my experience. And what I
Right.
will say is that a lot of moms, Black single moms who go to court, who are a victim or who are targeted by the court, it's because of three major things. Number one, please do not ever step into a courtroom telling the judge that you don't want their father involved in their life. I don't care what the circumstances are. Never walk into a courtroom asking a judge to terminate the father's rights or to terminate their visitation or custody unless you have valid reasons. And when I say valid reasons, I mean you better have some solid, rock solid, tight, airtight evidence that your judge is going to want to see to prove that. And even then, you should ask for no involvement as a very last resort. A lot of us think that that's an option. Yes, we know a lot of us have those dads that want to show up when they feel like it, or they want to play dad when they have a new girlfriend, or they want to pretend that they care when they want to, and want to send something once every 5 years. We all know those kind of dads. Doesn't matter. The judge does not want to hear that. The judge wants you to say, Judge, you know what? I want to try this out. I want to see if my child and my child's dad can repair the relationship that has been damaged or that has never been established. So I want to give them both a chance, because it's not just about me. It's about my child, and it's about my child having a relationship with their other parent, because there's a reason why it takes two parents to have a child. Don't ever go to court asking a judge to terminate rights or to just completely get rid of visitation or custody. Just don't do it. And a lot of us do that. Number two, a lot of us are angry. Yes, we are angry. We have every right to be angry. We're wearing multiple hats every single day, all day, with little support. I get it. Check that anger at the door. Whatever it takes, whatever, a punching bag, whatever it takes, check that anger at the door. Judges do not want to see you coming into their courtroom with all this emotion. I don't care if it's sadness, it's anger, just that's not the place. And what you wind up doing is you create an image or persona of yourself that the judge is going to use. The judge has 15 minutes to make an assumption about you. You want it to be a negative one? No. Just go in there, state the facts as objectively as you possibly can, and keep their emotion out of it. That's not the place for you to do that. When you walk out the courtroom, call your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whomever, and just let them have it. But just when you go into court, straight face, straight lace, stick to the facts. That's it. And number three, please don't let anybody else intimidate you. Don't let them intimidate you. Don't let them find you sleeping at the wheel. Be on your A game all the time. What does that mean? That means you question the things that are important. Everything is not important. Everything is not important. You have to prioritize things, because you know what? A lot of times, Black men, all men, but Black men are very keen. They know our weakness, and they will play on that. And they will play on that in court, and they will get the judge to side with them because you fell for it. No, be on your A game. Be on the defense all the time. Not on the offense. You don't have to attack, but be ready. Always be ready for whatever game they're going to play, and remain 10 steps ahead of them as much as you can. You know their patterns, right? You don't have to go into court and talk negatively about them, but you know their patterns. Just be mindful of that. Every move you make, incorporate their patterns into the moves that you're going to make. Those three things we need to keep in mind at all times.
Absolutely. And I think the second thing you mentioned, don't come in there all emotional. Won't they consider that like an emotional plea and not an actual, like they won't keep it as evidence?
No, they can't keep anything as evidence, but what judges are human. They have to make an assumption about you. That's human nature. And they want to do that because they only have 5 to 15 minutes. And that's human nature. If we only have a little bit amount of time, we all do it. We all do it in our everyday lives. we make assumptions about people just on, the first impression, first 5 minutes or 5 seconds in some situations. So the judge needs to do that. So what do you want him or her to think about you in those few minutes? That you're an emotional basket case? So now when the other party says, yes, judge, she's withholding my child because she's so angry. Oh, well, now you just showed the judge that he's right. You just showed the judge that, yes, he's right. Don't do that. And a lot of us, especially, like I said, Black women, we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. I am no exception. I am a single Black mom. And me too. But I know where to project that at. I know when and where to offload that anger. And if I actually was in court as a pro se litigant myself, and yes, I knew, I have years of experience, but I knew, and my son's dad, may he rest in peace, he passed away, but he was a classic narcissist. So he used to play all the games, and he did it in front of the judge. And I just stood there quietly, no expression, because I knew better. I knew, the moment I started to lash out, I knew the judge was going to say, wait a minute now, you're just as bad as he is. So I did. And so I played the game. I knew his patterns. I just waited until he played those patterns out, and it helped me. And I got exactly what I wanted. So the same thing for, any other Black woman out there who's a mom and who's dealing with a high conflict ex. Just be mindful that you don't need to unload your emotions off in the courtroom.
Yeah. And at the same time, that judge might have had 10 other cases that day where the mother was an angry Black woman. And now here you come, you're going to, fit the bill, even if it's not true. And then they have if your judge is a male, that makes it even worse for you, because now he's going to have that camaraderie with the father just because they're both males. And then if you come in acting like a crazy woman, it's going to strengthen that bond between the men's club, the boys club. Exactly. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
So how does representing yourself pro se cut through all the BS that often hides behind the legal talk?
Well, the one thing I want to say, and I've gotten much more careful with saying this, not everybody can be pro se, right? Okay. I had to come to the realization, because I used to think I was super, this magical character that I can help anybody become pro se material. And that's just not the case. Not everybody is not good enough, but is equipped or able to self-represent. So I just wanted to put that out there. But the ones who are, you got full control of your case. Working with a lawyer silences you sometimes. Yes, it silences you. If you want your lawyer to go and advocate for you about specific issues that have been an issue for you in your relationship the entire time, and you really want that addressed in court, but the lawyer thinks that it's not something that should be heard, guess what? The judge will never hear it. Because you can't go into the courtroom and the judge and the lawyer is talking for you, and you say, Judge, I need to say something. The judge's going to tell you to be quiet. You have a lawyer there, right? So you're silenced now, right? And your lawyer may never communicate that. Okay, now you're disappointed because that issue is never addressed. So you get to have full control of your case. I love that. Number two, there are times where there are rules that apply to lawyers that don't apply to litigants. If you are pro se, you can have a direct conversation with the other party and their attorney. So if your lawyer is playing golf with the other lawyer and the judge, and that might be the reason why they won't bring up certain issues, now you just cut out the middleman. You can bring up those issues directly to the other party and their lawyer in court. You can speak for yourself. That is priceless for some things. That is priceless for a lot of people. And the other thing is, you actually get the opportunity to decide things based on your overall objectives. You have goals. If you don't, you better have some. Do not go to court just blindly seeking things, asking for things. Have a plan. So when you have that plan, you can execute that plan step by step the way you want to. You can do it at your pace. You don't have to worry about all these unnecessary delays that your lawyers usually impose, all the, underhanded, under table kind of moves they make, like I said, playing golf with the other party, the opposing counsel and the judge. You don't have to worry about that. Anytime your lawyer says to you, hey, I think you should do this, you don't have to question their motives for suggesting that to you. So you cut out a lot of that. And the biggest thing is it doesn't cost you as much. You're not paying $20,000, $50,000 in attorney's fees to only get disappointed, because family law has the highest level of disappointment rate when it comes to lawyers. So you get to cut that out. So not only are you taking control and you get to dictate the role or the path your case gets to go, you also get to do it at a fraction of the cost it would normally cost you if you were to hire an attorney.
Yes, absolutely. So I was helping a mom who was, she had a lawyer, but she wasn't she had all these police reports, and she wasn't even trying to restrict parenting time. She wanted supervised visitation. But the lawyers would not submit those police reports. And she found out that the two lawyers were conversing and keeping it. They're like, okay, well, don't admit this, and then, but when she finally, filed pro se and she entered everything she had, the judge immediately signed the order and reprimanded the lawyers for not entering that into the case. And she probably sued them. But
yeah, exactly. That happens all the time. And I'm not going to play innocent. I've done a lot of those. I played a lot of those games myself when I was in private practice. So I know. Yes, I'm speaking from experience. When you're in Rome, you do what Romans do, right? You play, because it's like a little clique. It's like a little, a little cult where you have to do what everybody else does, or you're going to be looked at as, oh, look at you're playing differently. So now I don't have an allegiance to anybody now. So I can honestly say some of the games that I played when I was actually in private practice.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So, you talk a lot about dissecting the mindset of judges and understanding the agenda of the key players, and that is so powerful. So can you break down how mindset and strategy matter more than having a lawyer sometimes? I know you went briefly over it already, but can we get into it? And what are some practical things women can do to prepare emotionally as well for court?
So one of the things I always tell everybody is, if you don't know your judge, you are flying blindly. If you know nothing about your judge, you are really walking into a Minecraft. Like you're literally putting yourself and your kids at jeopardy. You need to know who your judge is. You need to know how your judge thinks. You need to understand their logic. How do you do that? Well, go visit the courtroom when it's not your day and just watch them. Just listen to them. Okay, they don't let you in the courtroom. Go and ask the court personnel or the bailiffs about your judge, or just sit in the hallway and listen to other litigants who just came out the courtroom. They're going to talk. They're going to complain. They're going to say what happened. You get an idea that way. There's several ways. Go get a consultation from lawyers who've been in before that judge to get an idea. You want to know. If you have a case that involves a relocation, you want to relocate out of the state and you want that judge to decide that, get an idea of where your judge sits when it comes to relocation. Get an idea of because there's several factors they have to consider. Every judge is going to have their own way of making decisions. Find out what your judge's decision-making basis is. That way you're ahead of the game, right? Of course. That's being strategic. Being strategic is also understanding who the key players in the courtroom are. Right. If the other party has an attorney, you need to know just as much about that attorney as you do about the judge. You need to know, do they actually co-chair a committee together? Do they play golf together? And then some of this information you're not going to be able to have access to on your own. But if you work with somebody like me, I'm always going to find that out. I have my ways of digging for information. But the other thing is the key players are people like the guardian ad litem or the parent coordinator or the mediator if it's required in your court. You need to know who these people are. Some mediators are mental health therapists and some are lawyers. Do you want a lawyer mediator listening to your case when you have safety concerns about your child? Maybe not. You might want a mental health mediator to hear that. How about a guardian ad litem? They want a guardian ad litem assigned in your case. You need to know who this guardian ad litem is. Are they an attorney or are they a mental health expert? Do you want them involved? So you need to understand the key players are everybody who has a role in that courtroom. You need to know exactly what they do, exactly what their motives are, and exactly the process by which you get them removed or complained against or objected to if that ever comes up, because it does come up more than once. And the other thing is about emotion. I am big on telling my audience and telling my people to have a support system outside of court, whether that be a friend, a group, whatever it is, a therapist, whomever it is. You have to have somebody who's going to be that voice of reason for you, because if you don't, You don't even realize sometimes, and we all are subjected to this. We don't even realize sometimes when we are stressed to the point where we're frustrated or anxious. We don't even realize when we are angry because we have been holding it in so long. Get that out before you actually get too involved inside your case or inside the courtroom, because them being the voice of reason, they're going to help you see things. And I don't know about you guys, but I only want to be around people who are going to keep it real with me. I don't want anybody sugarcoating anything with me. That's what you need. That's exactly what people need. And the other thing is, I'm big on meditation and mindfulness. I do all kinds of practices to calm myself down, because I get angry too. I still get angry. I get angry just from talking to my clients sometimes because they don't listen to me.
Right. Yeah.
But I have ways to, to calm myself down. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I do stretching. It depends on what it is. There's no way you can get through a protracted family court case and not have an outlet. You have to have an outlet. The other thing is, when you're going into the courtroom, remember, this is a business transaction. Especially those of you who are hustlers like me, who are natural born hustlers. You know how to play the role when you're hustling. So pretend you're doing the same thing when you walk into that courtroom. Pretend this is about your money. This is about you getting the bag, whatever it takes. But make this a business transaction and keep that in the back of your mind. Make it where it's not that you're fighting to defend your child because you don't want to accuse the other parent of not doing that. You just want to make sure that fairness happens as much as possible. The judge doesn't care about fairness. You should. So that's how you do that. You negotiate, you be open mind, you stay 10 steps ahead. And that way the emotion, you don't have time to be emotional because you're focused. You have an agenda. You have an overall strategy.
Yeah, you're setting a different tone. I like that. Okay. And you mentioned before about the key players. So say you have a guardian ad litem that may be appointed by the judge. Do you have an option to switch the GAL to maybe a mental health specialist, or are you kind of forced to stick with what the judge gives you?
It depends. Every jurisdiction has a different process. I used to be a guardian ad litem in New York, and people had an option only to a certain extent. Like if they were in the courtroom and the guardian ad litems were there, then the judge would assign whomever's in the courtroom. But if they were given the opportunity to research or to choose from 3 or let the other side recommend some and you choose, then you have a little bit more of an option, which I prefer because you can do some research to see what their background is. But it depends on where you are. The process can vary a little bit based on your jurisdiction.
Okay. All right. So let's go there because we have to. So what role does bias play in court decisions? And how does being an African-American woman affect the way we're seen in court? We went over it a little bit earlier about not appearing as an angry Black woman, but what can we do to strategically stay grounded in the moment? Like, cause I know we can come in ready, but sometimes somebody says something that, triggers us, from the other side. So what are some things we can do to kind of stay strategic and grounded, while it's in motion?
You know what I'm a big fan of, and I used to tell my audience this a lot when the courts were not so restricted as right now. When you go to court, always have your little buddy. Always have your little buddy. Some people bring their mother, some people bring their girlfriend, some people bring, a spiritual advisor or something. I love that. Yeah. I love that because it serves so many purposes. It does help to keep you grounded. Especially if they're the kind of person who's opposite of your personality. If you are that rah-rah kind of person, right? They're going to keep you grounded. But the other thing is that they can be the second set of eyes and ears that you need. So they can replay back to you later on how you sound, what you said. They can pay attention to what happened around the room as you responded or reacted to certain things. And again, that gives you the opportunities to go back and be like, oh, let me check myself. Right. But it also keeps the key players aware on their toes. If they know that they have somebody else in the courtroom watching them, they're going to be mindful of that because even though there's a court reporter recording what's going on, or there should be, that court reporter, some of those court reporters are biased too. Yeah. Some of them will purposefully leave things out that they know shouldn't have been included in the first place. So if you have somebody there with you playing all those roles, come on, you're set up for good.
Yeah.
But bias is inherent in family court. Bias, again, judges are human. They they feed into stereotypes. They, they have to make split decisions. A lot of them have what's called compassion fatigue, so they don't even care. They just want to take the easy way out.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, that is bias. When you're not judged based on who you are and what you're presenting, and you're judged on some preconceived notions, that is bias, and that is unfair. It's unavoidable, but if you are doing what you need to do to ensure that you're treating this scenario, this experience, like it's a business transaction, if you're not being emotional, if you're not being difficult, if you're not being resistant, then you're still okay. The bias is unavoidable. How you address the bias depends on to what degree it affected the overall outcome of your case. Do you want to file a complaint against the judge to have them removed, what's called recused? Do you want to file a complaint against the guardian ad litem because they made a recommendation that's clearly based on something that's unfair and the judge is co-signing it or not? Do you want to file complaints against the lawyer or your lawyer or the opposing counsel? Or do you want to just make note of it on the record, meaning saying it in court, I object to what just happened, and then filing an appeal later on? It depends on exactly what you want to do, exactly what the impact that bias had on your case is going to should determine what you do as a result of that. But bias is unavoidable in family court. Nobody's going to go into family court and avoid any sort of bias at all. It's just not, that's not the atmosphere for it. The best way to avoid bias is to stay out of family court altogether.
Right. And then work with your strategy, like you said earlier.
Yep.
That's where that comes in.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was I going to ask you? It just slipped my mind. It was something that I wanted to ask, but it's okay. So I want to talk about your platform. You created this really awesome platform, the Divorce Solutionist. So what do you offer through it? And how can women, especially those listening today, start taking the steps toward reclaiming their power in court?
Well, the listeners that are listening to you today or any other day will be able to download I have a free guide that's going to help you create a solid strategy. This is something I used to sell, right? But now I give it to people specifically who need to understand why it's so important to have a strategy and how you should set one up. So yes, they can have that one for free. But my platform, I work with people on a one-on-one basis, meaning I do 1 hour sessions with them, or I work with them on a month or 3 month or 6 month basis. Or if they're going to trial, I work with them on trial preparation. But I'm also in the midst of creating a course so that anybody who doesn't want to work with me one-on-one, they can actually go and take my course. My course has everything that you can think of that's strategic, that's going to set you up strategically so that you're in an advantage when you go to court. My course is the only course written by a lawyer, but specifically tailored to pro se litigants so that you understand exactly what I'm saying and it's not full of a bunch of legalese that's going over your head. So I'm actually fine tuning it because it wind up being 26 modules long when it was only supposed to be 10. Yeah, it's a lot in it because everything I've ever talked about in the past 5 years, it's in there. And I did that on purpose because I wanted something that people could always refer to. And once you buy it, it's yours. You can keep it. You can go to it for now, next year, or 2 years down the line. You can go back and watch a specific section of it and understand how to be strategic when it comes to something that you're dealing with at the moment. So so that's almost done. And you're the first one to know that I'm actually releasing an app that's going to do the same thing. You're going to have the access to a mimic of me, my brain. You'll just type in your questions and it's trained to think exactly like me. Nothing on this planet exists like that. Absolutely nothing.
Insane.
Yeah. Yes.
Congratulations on that. That's dope. I love that.
Proud of that. Yes. So but I'm always adding things. I'm always doing workshops. I'm always doing, because I'm really trying to spread the message that being pro se is a viable option. It's 2025, people. It's not 1995. You can go in and self-represent and do it successfully. I've helped people successfully achieved their goals by being pro se, by working with them. So it's definitely doable. And yes, if you go to my website and check me out, you can see whatever it is that fits your budget, because everybody's budget is going to vary. So
absolutely. And we're going to put all those links in the comments. I can't wait to see, or in the description. I can't wait to see the app. That sounds amazing. And I do remember what I was going to ask you. It was dealing with the bias question. If you do decide to say something about the bias, what does that retaliation look like? Is it worth it?
That's exactly why I said it depends on the impact. You always want to, this is one of my favorite Tracyisms that my audience members who know me from day one is, just because you could doesn't mean you should. So just because you can file complaints against judges doesn't mean you should, especially while your case is pending, because they will retaliate, even if they are recused, even if the upper court decides that yes, they should be taken off the case or whatever the process is. You don't think that they talk to other judges? The new judge is going to know what happened, and they're going to penalize you. Do you want to subject yourself to that? Do you want to risk your custody or your visitation with your child over that? Or do you want to just kindly say, Judge, I understand the court made a decision or ruling. I object to that. And then later on, file a motion to re-argue or renew, or file an appeal. It depends on what's at stake. My point and my purpose for doing what I'm doing too is to make sure people understand every decision you make should be an informed one. You should not be making decisions blindly just because you're angry or you're hurt or you're offended. Make them knowing all the consequences and how you can do or deal with the consequences once they ensure, because there will be consequences. There's always consequences.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I wanted to know. So before we go, I want to speak directly to the mothers listening. If you are in the middle of a legal battle, if you're tired, afraid, overwhelmed, you are not crazy, and you're not, well, we don't think you are, you might be, but you're not alone. So, Tracey, what final words of power or encouragement would you offer to a mom who feels silenced, concerned, or just dismissed in court?
One thing I am big on as well that I didn't mention the whole time is mindset. Your mindset. Your mindset is going to determine everything you do from this point on. And we have a very important role being a mom of a Black boy, right? I don't take that lightly at all. I never did. Even when I did criminal and juvenile delinquency, I always made it an issue to take care of our Black boys. And so you need to do that. So if that means letting them have contact with their other parent, whether it be one night a month, so be it. They need that. As long as they're not abusive or subjecting them to something dangerous, they need to have that. If it's not them, find somebody else. Black boys need Black men. They need them. Don't tell me otherwise. Please. They need that. Because I have my friends telling me all the time, oh, I can be mom and dad. No, you can't. You can't. You can't. It's impossible. And that's why we're in this predicament we're in, because too many Black moms think that way. It's not that we have to be, because we don't have a choice. But don't tell me you're going to do as good of a job as a Black man would. I don't believe it.
Not.
I've been in the justice system from kids when they were arrested as little boys up until the criminal when they were adults. And I see the chain. I see the consistency. And a lot of it is Black moms who think that, oh, I could do it all by myself. No, you left his dad out, and this is what happens. He's in jail now. So please do us all a service. Our community needs their dads to step up. We need you to allow them to do exactly that.
And that's exactly the PSA we needed right now. And I also tell moms during the court battle, it's hard, but you can't talk mess about, your kid's dad in front of him, especially when it's a son, because he sees himself as half of that person, regardless.
Thank you. That's right.
It is. So you're doing more damage than anything.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yep. I love to hear that you acknowledge that. I appreciate it.
Most definitely. So feels like we need more time, but this was definitely a masterclass, you guys. So if this episode spoke to you, share it with a sister who needs to hear it. And if you're preparing for court right now, visit thedivorcesolutionist.com. It's the @ right there, and just add the .com. And Tracey Bee is on Instagram, and that's @thedivorcesolutionist. Preparation is protection, you guys. Strategy is survival, and your voice, it still matters, even in the courtroom. This is Raising Kings, you guys. Until next time, keep fighting, keep healing, and keep raising greatness.
Thank you.
Thank you.